I just have to tell you one little story. When I studied a year at Catholic University, I was in a speech and drama program, and we had to put plays on. And I remember now, it came back to me this afternoon because we had to wear makeup, and then we had all those hot lights on us, and I can still remember all that. All those memories start coming back to me. It was totally amazing today. I said, wow, I don't want to do this every day, please. Okay. Anyway, hi, everybody. Before we get started, I just want to say hi and welcome all of you. We're continuing the series on the 9 gifts of gratitude. And tonight we're going to talk a lot about experiences, which is a big part of the mosaic that we're building. I want to start off by doing a reading from one of my meditation books, Meditation with Native American Elders. It's one of my favorite readings. So it kind of fits right into our topic for tonight. Life is like a path, and we all have to walk the path. As we walk, we'll find experiences like little scraps of paper in front of us along the way. Let's pick up those pieces of scrap paper and put them in our pocket. Then one day we will have enough scraps of papers to put together and see what they say. The Creator designed us to learn by trial and error. The path of life we walk is very wide. Everything on the path is sacred. What we do right is sacred, but even our mistakes are also sacred. This is the Creator's way of teaching spiritual people. To criticize mistakes is not the Indian way. To learn from our mistakes is the Indian way. The definition of a spiritual person is someone who makes 30 or 50 mistakes each day and talks to the Creator after each one to see what to do the next time. Today, let me see my mistakes as a positive process. Let me learn the ahas of life. Awaken my awareness so I can see the great learning that you, my Creator, have designed for my life. I wanted to read that because one of the things we're doing in this series is we're building what I call a life mosaic. And the mosaic is like taking these scraps of paper they talked about and putting them together into a design which is called life. We began this journey in this mosaic by talking about the greatest gift of all, the gift that the higher power gave to each and every one of us, our Creator, the gift of life. And to us, that gift is very sacred and very beautiful. And then also from the gift of life, we're actually sent into a family and family systems. And always kind of connect this to the fact that as kids growing up, we were like little sponges. And those sponges basically meant that we kept receiving and receiving all these little scraps of paper and messages, and they became part of us. And so all the different family systems we experienced in growing up began to build a sense of who we were, even though we didn't know who we were. But it was a process. And as a result of families, and we got experience in life, many different types of families. Everything changes from one time to another. And as a result then, from our family systems, we began the process of growth. And so we have to keep growing. And so growth took place not only physically, but hopefully mentally and other areas of life, because as children being born into this world, being given the gift of life, we were sent into, believe it or not, a very, very dysfunctional world. And it's supposed to be that way, by the way. I hate to tell you this. But the world we live in by nature is dysfunctional. Now, I want to say this because I truly believe it. Dysfunctionality is not a bad name. Dysfunctionality comes into our life to help us to grow, to help us to learn, to give us directions in our life. But it's like those scraps of paper. We have to keep getting all these pieces together as we go through this growth process and get to a stage in life we're able to become open to them. And openness, we talked about last week. These are the little God winks that are sent into our life in different directions. And sometimes we hear them, sometimes we don't. But guess what? There are little seeds being planted. They're planted inside of us. It's developing our sense of self, our personality, our experiences. And every experience we go through is part of this growth process, this way of life we're developing inside of ourselves. So we have to be able to look at life through the eyes of a beautiful thing I always love talking about. And I call it the power of positive thinking. Norman Vincent Peale's wonderful book, and learn the concept that if we look at things through positive eyes and healing eyes, and I'll get more into that next week when we talk about recovery. But the concept is if I'm able to look at these things through positive eyes, then I'll be able to see how all these things kind of come together over a period of time with patience, with time. And here's the hard part for us as human beings, and especially the majority of us that are car carrying codependents, we want to get it all done today. And they're telling us, be patient, let the process happen, let things come together, let them go where they're supposed to go. And then we begin to experience different things in the course of our life. We experience families, we experience change in families, we experience children, we experience growth, we experience setbacks. All these things are part of our journey and part of our growth. And that's why it's so special. And yet, at the same time, it's a struggle because we're going to experience mistakes. We're going to be able to, excuse my language, screw up once in a while. What the hell? Might as well, right? And so the concept is we have to be able to fall down, to make mistakes. And hopefully we can learn and grow from them. I give you kind of a couple stories. I like stories. I can't help it. Now, this one's for Pat, so I got to tell a story tonight. So we'll see what happens. If you know much about the power of positive thinking and Norman Vincent Peale, and this was on PBS a long time ago, he was a pretty interesting person. He was a Protestant minister, by the way. And he had one of those old-fashioned Protestant churches in New York, way back then when everything was like, you talk about fire and brimstone. Man, it was like a volcano in brimstone. It was so strict and so rigid. And that basically, when he wrote this book, he was so excited about it. But the people in the church told him, if he publishes it, it'd be heresy, and that he'd be ostracized from the church. He went to publishers in New York. Nobody would touch it, because if they did, they'd bring the wrath of the church on top of him. So finally, in disgust, he got ready to throw it away. But see, he had this wonderful lady he lived with. It was called his wife. And his wife basically picked the manuscript up and very nicely went to see a publisher and blackmailed the publisher into publishing it. And as a result, it became a national bestseller. I love that story because I really believe these scraps of paper we're talking about, that if we go through all these little things that happen to us in the course of our journey, they're part of the mosaic of being able to put things together and do our learning. And we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have that foot in the mouth disease every so often. I know I get it a lot, so it's fantastic. But then get that foot out of that mouth is a lot of work. But the bottom line is we go through these changes. It's all part of the process we have to go through. And during the course of the journey, we're going to learn this, learn that, experience this, go through these experiences. Every experience we have in life can become a positive experience if we are open to them and if we're willing to grow and we have the will to be able to learn from them, or the willingness to be able to learn from them. But we have to work through that. Look back at my own journey in my own life, and I look back to my childhood, and I look back to the fact that going into the priesthood or the seminary when I was 14 years old, to me it was a pretty scary situation. My mother protected me so much in the course of my life that I had no concept of what I was doing. And I was sent into this place called the seminary, which, by the way, is where Camden County College is right now. Back then it was called Mother of the Savior Seminary. And I went in there as a freshman in high school. I didn't know crap. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea at all. But the good thing about it was she put me in protective custody to protect me from, I think those people call women, to keep them away from me. And so as a result, then she kept protecting me all the time. While I was in protective custody, it was an indirect positive thing. First of all, it got me out of my house and kind of away from my mom. And for the first time, I had to depend on others. I was in a new family system, and I had to be able to ask for help, ask for guidance, and be able to start the process of growing. It's funny sometimes how things happen. And in that system, basically, even though I was very naive, I had no real sense of who I was, no sense of my personhood, I basically was able to survive it and get through it. And to this day, I still don't know how I did it, but I did it. And the amazing part about it was I survived it. It's so funny about life. We go through these survival stages, these learning stages, these growing stages. And sometimes we have to be able to keep, plowing along, and things kind of work out and come together. But we have to have patience, and things work in time. There's no magic to it. And so as a result of that, I got ordained, went to a parish, and at the parish, I found out I also got to teach at Sacred Heart High School, and I was at St. Isidore's Parish. By the way, I got to tell Loretta this. St. Isidore is the patron of technology. Isn't that amazing? So now that's why I'm Mr. Zoom today. What can I tell you? Anyway, the concept is I went to this parish. I know what I was doing. I was naive as hell. And all of a sudden, I was running a parish, teaching high school, being involved in all kinds of stuff. And I kept getting more involved in more stuff and more stuff. I was even in charge of the cheerleaders at the high school. It's great to be the captain of the cheerleader squad. It's fantastic. And as a result, then I began to do all this crazy stuff. I even ran the chess club. I never played chess, but that was no problem. As a result, then I realized today, all these things that happened to me were God's way of taking me on a journey. See, I now understand what Norm was talking about last week when I talked about seed planting. All these things were seeds that were being planted inside of me to help me through the journey of life, to go through my learning process and my growing process, but to realize the fact that it wasn't going to be easy and that there was one obstacle in my way. That obstacle was my ego and my control issues. Because, see, I was going to figure it out. I was going to be in charge of it. I was going to run it. And one of the hardest things in the world to do is to get humbled, to realize the fact you're not in charge. Now, I was laughing today because a lot of the people in the film crew were young people, I'm talking like 22, 23, 24 years old. And I looked at them today and I said, guess what? One time I was 20 years old. I really was. Howie doesn't believe it, but I really was. So when I was 20 years old, I had a major problem. The problem was I knew everything. See that, Charlie? I knew already. Had it all straightened out. Had the world by the tail. And then this stupid thing happened. I became 30. And I found out the questions. It's so crazy how we think we have the answers before we discover the questions. It's all part of growing. It's part of the stuff we have to go through. And as a result, I got to 40 and I found out there weren't any answers. Then I got to 50 and what the hell, might as well have fun. See what happens. Let it all hang out and go from there. Now in my 80s, good God, woo, we'll really go nuts. But the concept is, you look at life through a different set of eyes as you begin to go through different stages of life. Because you realize this is part of growth. It's part of all the experiences we go through. And I truly believe that everybody on this call with me tonight is a very special and unique individual, a very special and unique person. And none of us are here by accident. We are exactly where we are supposed to be at this moment in our life. We're on a journey. And that journey has led us to different people in the course of our journey. It's led us to one another. It's led us to the journey we're on. Never my wildest dream, my wildest imagination, way back when I was 14, 15 years old, that I think I'd be married. Good God, would that really happen? And it did. And never in my wildest dreams, I think I'd have 3 stepdaughters and 7 grandkids. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think in my life God would send different people into my life to help me on my journey. And again, to realize that fact how special and beautiful that is. And yet, sometimes we got to do it the hard way. I'm no different than you or anybody else. I got this thing up here. It's called the rock. And my father said this to me a long time ago. My dad worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad. He was a section gang foreman. And by the way, don't ever work for your father. I made that mistake. I spent 3 summers working for him on the railroad. Yeah, okay, I won't curse too much right now, but anyway, my father used to have this wonderful way of constantly trying to teach me things. You see, I learned something from my Indian meditation book. Listen to the elders. Listen to those who have gone before you. Listen to those who have gone through the fire, have gone through the experiences. Take the lessons you can learn from them. I worked for my dad on the railroad. My father, I was young. I think I was like 22 years old, 23 years old. And I was going to prove to my dad what a great worker I was. He gave me a job, and you got to realize there's a section gang on the railroad. These guys are laying track with, hammers and stuff and carrying these rails and what under me. Anyway, I got there, and he said to me on the first day of the job, he said, here's a shovel. I was all ready to go. He said, see that pile of coal over there? I want you to move it from there over to there. And so my pride, my ego, all my stuff came into play. While they were out working the gang, I was going to prove to him what a great worker I was. I worked my backside off moving that pile of coal. I wanted to have it done by lunchtime. So when he came back, the little peacock, my feathers were flying, be proud of me. We had lunch. After lunch, I said, now, Dad, what's next? He said, move it back. I said, what do you mean? I just moved it over there. He said, move it back. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Moving it back was not so much an adventure. I had a few choice words for my father. I won't mention them here because I'd have to, I'd be in trouble if I mentioned them. And I think with every shovel full of coal, I made believe it was him. I was crazy. I got home that night and I was angry. I was frustrated. I said, why did you do that to me? Why did you embarrass me? All that crap we go through, He said to me, come here. Of course, in those days when your father said, come here, you come here. Believe me. If you didn't come here, something else would come here. But anyway, I said, what do you want, Pop? He said, listen to me. See that pile of coal? Every man on the gang moved that pile of coal the first day on the job. Why? Because you have to learn. This is not a place where you are going to be in charge of anything. You're part of us. You're part of this group. We're part of a little family here. We work together because we're doing dangerous work. We're laying track that trains are going to run on. If we don't do this right, people will get killed. At the same time, we can get hurt if we don't work together and do this. I didn't really like that explanation, by the way, but guess what? He was right. Isn't it sometimes how interesting it is sometimes when we have to do things like disciplining people or the mothers who know what I'm talking about and fathers, and your kids get mad at you, they get angry at you, they call you names, all kinds of wonderful stuff. Isn't it great? Then in the end, they love the hell out of you. It's amazing, isn't it? Because we have to make decisions. We got to be responsible. We have to look at these experiences and things we go through in life, learn from them, grow from them, let them become part of who we are. Because every experience we've had in life is a powerful experience, and growth comes from it. Every individual person we meet is a powerful experience, and growth comes from that. And that's why it's so important, because we experience these individuals in our life. They become our teachers. That's why I've said this to you thousands of times, and I'll keep saying it. The greatest experience in this world is what I refer to as the human library. Every one of us tonight has a story. And your story is the greatest story on the face of this earth because it's yours. And every day a new chapter is being written. And I don't know how many years we're going to have on this earth. Some of us will be here for a long time. Some people were not here for a long time. There's sadness involved in it too, because we also go through loss. We go through struggle. We go through situations in life we don't quite understand them. You know, I look around that starting point today in the lecture hall, all the memorial walls, the names that are on the wall, things of that effect. And I realize a lot of those young people on those walls have left us early. They weren't supposed to, but for some reason they did. And we go through sadness, we go through grief, everything in life, when we see change, grief takes place. We go through these situations in our life. They're hard to accept sometimes, but it takes time for us to come through the fire and come to those places where we can come to the gift of acceptance. I've said this many times. That's one of the reasons why I love our recovery program, because every time we share each other's stories, we learn from each other and we grow from each other. We all got stories. That's what's so beautiful about it. And instead of looking at them negatively, try to look at them positively. Try to look at them with an open mind. Try to learn from them, grow from them. And we got to go through the fire sometimes and go through struggle sometimes and go through loss a lot of times. It's part of the journey. And can we explain it? Of course not. How can I explain life? I can't. All I know is you do the best you can, one day at a time, and go through the process. And over a period of time, we're going to experience the sadness. We're going to experience the grief. We're going to experience different changes in life. And sometimes we have to learn how to say goodbye. Saying goodbye is not easy. Saying hello is not easy. Opening up to new things and new directions. You know, the journey of life continues. And that's why I always say we have to realize the fact that we have to learn from those who have gone before us, the young as well as the old. You know, you always hear me talk about the elders and learning from the elders. And I look back to the days of South Philly and the 4021 Club and all those crazy, crazy people that really taught me so much. They planted so many seeds. It took me a while to get it through my thick head, but they came in there. And they all come back to me now, connected with it. But I also realize, you know, all the elders I talk about all the time, and I said this the other day to somebody, and they kind of brought reality to my mind. They said, but Vince, all these elders you talked about, they're all dead. I said, oh, okay. Well, that makes me the elder now. I said, how'd I get there? Well, wait a minute. Something's wrong here, right, Howie? How to become the elder all of a sudden? You know, so the concept is, guess what? It's the journey. Like we're always taught. You come in the world in diapers and you go out in diapers. Now they call them depends, but they're diapers. What can I tell you? They're a little bigger. But the concept is, it's part of the journey. And so I try to teach all the time, over and over again in my own life. That's why I try to share it. What I refer to as my ultimate spiritual words. The first two ultimate spiritual words I always love talking about are the words supposed to. Why did you go through the fire you went through? Why did you go through the struggles you went through? Why did you go through the mistakes that you made? Why? Because you were supposed to. That's a powerful spiritual word. That's how learning takes place. If I didn't go through those experiences, I wouldn't be where I am today. And the second spiritual word is eventually in time, I come to an acceptance of what is, even though I don't like what I have to accept, even though I don't want to accept it. I have to come to it. And that acceptance is part of a spiritual journey. And believe me, none of this comes easy. I don't want anything to come easy, because the more we have to go through struggle, we have to earn, we have to be responsible, we have to grow. And the hardest thing in life is to be able to face the truth about yourself and be honest. and learn from it and grow from it. Because your history is your most powerful teacher. And so as a result, I learned another great spiritual word. You heard me say this before, so I might as well say it again. You know, we all have something called our stuff. I have another name called crap, but it's our stuff. We all got some, okay? And as a result, then we have to go through the process. That's why steps 4 through 9 teach us to face our crap, process it, learn from it, grow from it, let it become our teacher. So if you actually process crap, it becomes fertilizer. And so if we look at the stuff we did in life, it actually is fertilizer for growth. It's a powerful way to look at it. And so all those experiences we've gone through from birth, through our family systems, through different things in life, every experience we've gone through is a teachable moment. And we made mistakes along the way. May have said stupid things once in a while. May have even shot our mouth off when we weren't supposed to. But guess what? Because we're supposed to, we did it. Now we have to deal with it. That's why we talk about making amends, settling things, making peace inside of ourselves. All this is part of the growth process we go through in life. And no matter what happens, we continue the process. One day at a time. And that's why every morning when I say my morning prayers and I do my meditation in the morning, I read from a pamphlet I got from AA. I've been reading from it for so long, I actually have it worn out now. It says yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And it reminds me every day that yesterday is over. Whatever happened, happened. Can I learn and grow from it? Tomorrow isn't here yet. As a result, what do we have? We have today. One simple, beautiful day, just today, to appreciate it, to celebrate it, to honor it, do the best we can with it. And even through all the confusion we had today at starting point, it was an experience, can I tell you? You know, and basically as a result of it, probably need a couple showers after that session, but it's all right. But the bottom line was, it's all about growth. It's all about learning. It's not easy. I'm saying this easily tonight in 35, 40 minutes or so. But in reality, what I'm talking about is not easy. Seed planting, patience, allowing things to work, learning, being patient, letting things work when they're supposed to work is part of the journey of life. And not knowing where it's going to go is also part of the journey too. I don't know about tomorrow. None of us do. If it's the grace of God, I'll wake up tomorrow. If it's not, well, I'll talk to the boss on the other side. What can I tell you? It's all part of the journey. You can't do much more about that, right? There's some things we don't have control over. There's some of the things in life that I look around and see the things of life, and the aches, the pains, the struggles, and feel people go through. We have to realize, can I learn? Can I grow? Can I go through the experiences of life? And even the losses. Because loss is part of life also. And that's important. And so as you go on your journey, try to realize our experiences are our strength. It's a beautiful saying in AA. If you face your experiences, you will learn your strength, or then become your hope to share with others. Strength comes from your experiences. Experience, strength, and hope. Every experience we have in life gives us a new perspective, a new learning process. And that's one of the things I love about this mosaic that we're building, is because one layer at a time, we're realizing through families. Remember the sponge I talked about? We all picked up our little idiosyncrasies, our little behaviors, things in that direction. And that's okay. It's part of who we are. And then basically going through a growth, through a change process, a learning process, trying to become more open to new things and new directions and not stay stuck in the old. Even though we look at the old and honor it, learn from it, but move forward. And then it's our job now to pass it on to others. Keep carrying the message. The beautiful part about it is, a little bit at a time, you're able to take your experiences and your strength plus mine and mine, be able to share them with one another. You know what's so beautiful about that? It makes us all equal. Nobody's any better than anybody else. We're all part of a family. We're all part of a growth process. We're all part of learning. And that's what I love so beautiful about all this stuff. And so as we put together the little scraps of the mosaic, it's starting to come together now. So what we'll do is I'll take it into the aspect of recovery next week, which gives us the groundwork for building the mosaic and putting it together. I always love that concept because it's almost like I look in history. The early founders of AA, when they put this together, were two gentlemen in a state of despair. And from them, things began to grow. The seeds nurtured, developed, moved forward. And I truly believe, like I said last week, God is winking at us every day. Those winks are really important. The problem is there are no coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. Will we ever know the total reason? Of course not. We'll never know. But everything in life, somehow, some way, we have to come to grips with it and deal with it. Is it easy? And I guess what I'm learning finally in the sense of responsibility, I don't want it to be easy. I want to earn it. I want to struggle. As I struggle, I grow. And that's part of what it's really all about. And so tonight, as I share my prayer with you, I want to pray that we're able to open our hearts and open our minds to different experiences we've all gone through. Because each of us is unique. Each of us is special. Each one of us is one of God's beautiful creations. And as a result, then, each and every one of us have to try to the best of our ability just to be open to the journey, to be open to learn, to be open to grow. As a result, then, our experiences will then become our teachers. And so in this spirit, let us now pray. God, we come before you as a family connected in prayer. We say thank you. Thank you for the gift of our recovery, for the gift of today. But please allow us to realize that you are there for us. You are our guide. You are our strength. You are leading us on this journey. Teach us to be open, to listen, to learn. Help us through the obstacles we have to go through. Help us through the struggles, the things we have to experience. Please, please help us not to try to do them ourselves. Don't be afraid. Try not to be afraid to ask for help, to ask for your guidance, to help one another, be close to one another, share with one another. For you are constantly trying to teach us through all the experiences we go through in life. We pray every day in a very special way that we'll try to be open to your will, open to the journey, and know that if I truly ask for help and guidance and direction, you will send teachers into my life. I may not like all the teachers you send into my life, Lord, but I know if I can just listen and be open and learn, I'll grow from it and I'll be a better person as a result of it. So today we look back and we say thank you for all those who have gone before us. We don't forget any of them. They're all our family. As I was in the lecture hall this afternoon, we said our prayers, looked up at the top wall and saw all the counselors that have gone before us. I saw all the people that died from the pandemic, whose names are on the plaques on top of the wall. All these people that have been part of our journey. And I know we've been touched by all of them. I know now they are there with you, and they are guiding us and being with us on our journey today. God, we have so many beautiful angels in life. Teach us to listen to them and be open to them. Thank you, God, for allowing us to walk the journey of this earth. Please, please help us to pick up those scraps, those little scraps of paper with all your beautiful messages on them. We pray and we ask for the courage and strength to do this. And we ask for it in your name. Amen. And now I'm going to ask you to unmute, and we're going to do the we version of the Serenity Prayer together.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God's will, not mine, be done.